Hello and welcome to this episode of Acrinos Access. I'm your host, Erich Mattei, joined today by Joanna Earley and John Earley of Recruitment Alternatives for a really insightful conversation on a topic that is near and dear to our heart, and that is doctor recruiting and legacy building for the modern practice. Joanna, John, welcome to Acrinos Access.
Hi, Eric. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us, Eric. We're happy to be here.
Well, yeah, thank you all for joining. And, you know, as we were kind of sharing here these last couple of weeks, as we've been building up to this collaboration, you know, it's such an exciting time right now in optometry, as there are so many practices that are looking for not only associate doctors, but looking for that right associate doctor who's going to be on that path to ownership, whether it's a partner or ultimately purchasing that practice and taking it over. So really excited to jump into this topic with Joanna and John Earley, who are experts in the world of doctor recruiting. So Joanna, John, why don't we kind of maybe kick it off by just setting the stage and discussing some of the latest trends in doctor recruiting in eye care?
Sure. Yeah, I guess we'll share a few details with you here, Eric. I guess one of the main things that we've been seeing over the past couple of years is really more of a specialization in optometry. A lot of newer optometrists going to school or obtaining training in like dry eye, specialty contact lenses, neuro optometry, and kind of that specialization in general.
It's
We're
specialization
also seeing
piece.
a shift to, sorry, Eric. We're also seeing a shift to some teleoptometry positions and hybrid positions where there's some in-house visits as well as televisits as well. So we're seeing that continue to emerge as well.
Fantastic. And, you know, you all hit on two really critical pieces, and that is kind of this growing scope of care within optometry. Certainly when we discuss specialties, right, and this growing vision, medical, and specialty need for eye care and these new treatment areas that are out there for doctors to be able to address these needs of patients. But also when we bring in teleoptometry, the different ways that care is being delivered. And it's really presenting some fascinating opportunities for those that are looking to seize it. So why don't we dig a little deeper and jump into talking about how some of these trends are impacting the practice, impacting the practice with regard to strategic decision making, certainly the patient experience, and even getting into maybe the profitability realm.
Sure. Yeah, I think, I'll say something about the teleoptometry side of things. I think that's been pretty cool to see, in that due to the fact that sometimes it's difficult to find optometrists in some of the rural areas, this is allowing for a solution for patients that, might have had to travel a great distance to find an optometrist or whatever. It's also allowing for some flexibility in terms of patients being able to schedule maybe around their work or something like that. And even allows for some schedule flexibility for the optometrists and what fits in their schedules as well.
Yeah, and as we see practices looking into different specialties and adding certain specialties, maybe something where they see a need in their specific geographic area for a certain specialty. Maybe they're seeing where there aren't any practitioners that are offering dry eye, and they're having more and more patients kind of reaching out for these specialty services. They can definitely look to add specialties to their practice as their space allows. And I guess one of the really important things with specialties is understanding what the average revenue would be per patient to add these specialties, and then factoring in the cost of equipment and space and staff training and those kind of issues as well. So it's definitely something that needs a little research on the part of the practice, but can be very beneficial economically.
Absolutely. I think also in the context of talking about this changing face of optometry and these opportunities in bringing in associate doctors also just has to do with the fact that now this modern generation of optometry, their medical training is such a high level now coming out of optometry school. As a matter of fact, we've got here tuning in here live Lydia Holland, who's actually in optometry school. I had the opportunity to meet Lydia in person for the first time recently at a optometry meeting. And as a matter of fact, she's comment here, right? Talking about great point about it being the potential to add specialty service to underserved demographics. Again, it actually, as a matter of fact, Lydia, it's so awesome that you're tuning in here because where you come from in northern Mississippi and knowing what you want to do to get back into your community and bring these high level specialty optometric care, high level medical care back into your community, remarkable opportunity, right? And Joanna and John, in the context of doctors who would be looking to recruit the associate doctor, perhaps that doctor on the ownership path, right? To find these doctors, these young doctors that are trained at a very high level that are looking for communities to serve. Certainly really exciting stuff. So why don't we then jump into maybe talking about the role of doctor recruiting across maybe stages of the practice life cycle, right? Because again, we've realized there's this huge opportunity with medical care, with specialty care, with teleoptometry. Certainly understand the impact to the practice, the economics of the business. So why don't you all share a little bit regarding the latest with, the role of doctor recruiting, whether part-time or full-time, and then ultimately getting on this path to partnership?
Sure. Yeah, I would say this, Eric. We talk to practice owners and practice managers all the time about a variety of different reasons why they need to add staff. It can be scenarios where, they just feel like it's taking too long to get the new patients in the door for their first visit or whatever. Or, it might be a scenario where they're purchasing another location or opening another location, or maybe an optometrist is retiring. So people come to us with a lot of different scenarios. Our process, honestly, is pretty similar when we're doing the actual recruitment. Joanna and I are old-fashioned zip code recruiters. We tend to try to find local staff initially, if we can, near a local practice that's hiring. And we kind of work our way out geographically. If at a certain point we aren't finding the local talent that's needed, we are always talking to people nationwide, and we'll try to encourage optometrists to maybe relocate for the right opportunity. So I just kind of give you a little picture. So.
Absolutely. And that's where, to share with you all before going live here, we've actually got an Acrinos client recently that we're having this very conversation with, right? An amazing practice that's on this path to looking for that associate on the path to partnership. And, to your point, John, there are opportunities all over the place. And I think what's also fascinating is that, now we live in a time where we can stay connected in a variety of ways that it's not uncommon for someone to relocate to be able to join a practice and purchase a practice, right? Even if it's away from their hometown, again, realizing that now in this digital age where we can stay connected, you can still have those relationships long distance if you were to relocate to join a practice. And I think also to that end, kind of reframing the world of recruiting, right? Conventionally, recruiting being, I'm simply looking for an associate provider or for a staff member to come join my team. But when we start to position this regarding actively recruiting for someone who'd be on a path to partnership, certainly so many opportunities there on the horizon. So why don't we now kind of shift gears into some of the practical process of like, how do you go about this, right? So Joanna, John, for those that are, those doctors that are listening, tuning in, hey, I want to find the right candidate to join my practice. Where do I start?
I think planning is the biggest, the biggest thing. So really be thinking ahead about these types of scenarios and, what you're looking for your practice. Are you looking to bring in someone that's just I say just an associate, but are you looking for an associate? Are you looking for an associate with specialty training because you want to add a you want to add a specialty offering to your practice? Are you looking for someone that can buy in gradually over time, become a partner, work with you? Are you looking for someone to buy your practice outright? We've seen where practice, and to your point, where practices have been for sale and it's the right fit for a candidate that's maybe not from the geographic area, but they know they can purchase a practice, walk in day one, have a patient base, even though they're not from that area, and maybe don't have the relationships themselves. These are already built for them. And a lot of times the doctors that the previous owners will stay on in a mentorship capacity, stay on in a part-time capacity, or sometimes they just retire outright. It just all depends on the scenario. But I think most importantly is having a plan and, knowing outright that, it's not that can't change as you work through the process, and staying flexible. And some of that can also help in finding the right person. But, having a game plan and getting the message out that you are looking for an associate in whatever capacity that is really important.
John, any other tips regarding like best practices on where to start?
Yeah, so there are a number of different things you might want to keep in mind. I think if you're looking at finding the right person to buy the practice, using a variety of ways, social media might be a good example to kind of get the word out. Using some of the different job boards, if you need to do some advertising, is often helpful. Also, a shameless plug here, but, being willing to maybe reach out to a recruiting firm or a consultant to try to bring in some help, outsource that part of the project if you aren't an expert in that area, I'll say.
If only there were a consulting and recruiting team that was really making waves in this area. If only. really great stuff. I'm really glad y'all share that, right? Because I think in the context of this, for a lot of doctors, let's face it, it's overwhelming and it's scary. Until you get there, this is totally uncharted territory. And I think the two key things that y'all were touching on, one, Joanna, you were talking about create your plan, right? Dig into your numbers, analyze the business. I know earlier in the conversation, you guys were actually talking about, hey, when you are going to bring that associate provider, we got to be sure we have the infrastructure ready for them, So in order to be able to make the appropriate investment and establish the operations, we need to understand what's going on. So create that plan. It starts with the analysis and create that stakeholder-centric plan where everyone knows what their role is going to be. The other piece, though, and John, I'm really glad that you brought it up, and that is to be proactive about this stuff, right? Be proactive getting the word out there, ranging everything from social media and job boards, getting involved in your state association, go to your local AOA society meetings and getting the word out there. And then certainly, working with teams that are here that specialize in doing this type of stuff. So why don't we now shift gears? Before you guys share how folks can get in touch with you all and stuff, but why don't we shift gears and maybe talk about some of these hurdles, right? Because I know you guys, as does Acrinos, sometimes we'll get the calls after things have already started to unfold. It's like, oh, maybe we would have wanted to do it in a different order. So maybe share some of the hurdles to implementation with recruiting that doctor that's going to be on that path to partnership.
Sure. Yeah, do you want to go first, Joanna?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest hurdles that we see is that there is a shortage of qualified staff, right? Especially in certain areas. Certain areas, not so much, but most demographic areas, there's a shortage of qualified optometrists. And that shortage has gotten even more acute since the pandemic. People retired at that point. Some businesses closed down at that point. So there is definitely a shortage in the optometry field. So that's probably one of the biggest hurdles. And at times we also see that practice owners they're hesitant to, I think, like you said, Eric, kind of dive right in, and they know they need someone, but they're hesitant to engage with any kind of outside recruitment agency. Maybe it's cost prohibitive, maybe it's they've had a bad experience, but really there are avenues out there where we can help. You can post a lot of things online. We call it the post and pray mentality, but that doesn't always work so well, unfortunately. Kind of sitting back and waiting for those people to come to you, where we're actively going out and actively engaging with candidates and trying to find the type of candidate that will best fit your practice.
Love it. Love it.
One of the other hurdles I think we hear a lot about, Eric, it's sort of twofold. Some practice owners or managers have worked with recruiters in the past or had conversations with them, and they'll run into instances maybe where the recruiting firm will want to charge a percentage of the first year's salary, and it's not affordable. There are small businesses like ours out there that will do the same type of work, but for a more reasonable fee. We don't have the overhead. We work from home type of thing. So mention that. And sometimes maybe somebody will have had a bad experience with a recruiter. And again, interview recruitment firms before you make a choice. There are a number of them out there. Find somebody who you feel comfortable with and who communicates in a way that you're used to, and try to find someone that is a good fit for you. So we really, recruitment firms and consultants can, kind of fill those gaps sometimes and take care of a time-consuming aspect of your HR department if you're really busy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. We have a comment here. Lydia Holland says, post and pray. Love the intention of just doing it. And I think that's I love that. And I think that's a good key takeaway from this live stream, right? It's about intentional doing it, going for it, right? And ways for doctors to find that associate that's going to be on that path to partnership. So, Joanna, John, why don't you share a little bit more about Recruitment Alternatives, right? Your experience, a little bit of y'all's scope of work, solutions you provide, and how you operate.
Sure. Yeah. So, we've been in business since 2001, Eric. Joanna is actually a physical therapist by background, and I have a business degree, and I've been a recruiter for over 30 years now. We started our business placing physical therapists with private practices in the therapy field and expanded into the optometry field maybe about 10 years ago, I guess now. And we have a database, I guess, of probably somewhere over 30,000 different optometrists that we communicate with regularly across the country. So, we're consistently having conversations, and unfortunately, somebody has a bad day at work every day and they're looking for something new, or they're a new graduate or a residency trained person with that year of experience under their belt, and they're actively looking for that first position. That's really Joanna's specialty, and I can kind of let her share a little bit about that with you too.
Yeah, so we're working with, those new graduates to identify what they're looking for, and then see if they are, a match for our practice owners. We really try to dig pretty deeply into what's important to the practices that we hire for, what they're looking for, and then also what the candidates are looking for as well. It's a puzzle for us, right? And we're always trying to make those matches as to what's, in the best interest of both parties. So we're trying to find that perfect fit for our clients and also for the candidates that we work with. We work through identifying and pre-screening any candidates that we send to our clients. We assist with scheduling interviews and phone conversations, and we do follow-up after those interviews. One of the biggest things that we see is, as much as we want to, people want to hire, we send them a resume, and then sometimes there's a lag when in them getting in contact with the candidates. So we really encourage our clients to be timely with their communication, and the same thing with the candidates as well. So that timely communication really helps making those matches and, getting a candidate when they're actively engaged.
Outstanding stuff. And y'all hit it earlier in that we have this radical provider shortage, right? And with what you all have created in recruitment alternatives, it really is outstanding, right? The database, how you all connect with doctors, and how you all connect with doctors on a very personal level, right? Both the practices that you are helping find the associate, but also those job seekers that are looking for that place to call home. And I think also something that is making this very unique is that now Acrinos or Recruitment Alternatives are starting to do some collaborations in helping doctors find that associate that's going to be the legacy buyer to their practice. And y'all, this is something that our industry needs so badly right now. So if you know someone out there that owns a practice that's looking to find that associate, that independent, they want to keep the practice independent, send them on over to Acrinos, send them over to Recruitment Alternatives, because we got some amazing things that we have cooked up to help these legacy practices continue. So Joanna, John Earley, before we hop off, any closing remarks or maybe just a pointing word or a little send off for our listeners out there, maybe a little vote of confidence, wishing them luck to keep on keeping on. What you got?
Sure. Yeah. I would just say, when we do our recruitment process, it's all about fit, and we're really trying to put the right people together in a partnership. And I guess my best advice is don't settle. We talk to a lot of people who will sort of hire that person because they think it's the only person that's out there. And sometimes it does take 2, 3, 4 candidates until you find that right fit. And partnering with the right people to help you take care of that recruitment process can make all the difference. So.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, John Earley, Joanna Earley, the team at Recruitment Alternatives. Y'all, if you want to connect with Joanna and John, you can connect with them via their website, recruitalt.net, and also through Acrinos. You can head on over to Acrinos, see all the amazing things we've got going on, helping practices make it happen. And we can certainly get you in touch with the team at Recruitment Alternatives as well. On behalf of all of us here at Acrinos, Joanna Earley, John Earley, thank you so much for joining us in this episode of Access.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks so much for having us, Eric. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. We'll look forward to seeing everyone next time.